This is the Heritage Audio Tubesessor, and it's the biggest regret in my studio setup. So this all started back in 2022 when I first heard about the Heritage Audio Tubesessor, and the December of that year is when it was released. Now, the main reason why I purchased this unit like anybody else would is because it replicated a TubeTech CO1B, which is highly sought after by everybody in the recording space, but due to its limited availability makes it that much harder and more expensive to get your hands on. So since I was on the market looking for a new compressor at that time, in came in Heritage Audio with this brand new Tubesessor. So I then placed my pre-order on this unit and actually received it on Christmas Day in 2022, which was a nice little Christmas present. So after I received this unit on Christmas Day, I was hyped to check it out and finally put it to the test to hear what it sounded like, since it was a brand new unit and nobody had done any reviews on it since. So as soon as I first got it, my first impressions weren't really like it was mind-blowing or anything crazy, but I kind of expected that slightly because it was a clone of the TubeTech. It's not going to beat the original TubeTech, but still I just wanted something to kind of be similar along the lines because I didn't have any compressors at that given moment. But after 2 years of using this thing, I found some things that I just didn't really like about the unit, which is exactly why I'm making this video today. So I remember the first year, maybe a few months after I actually received this unit, I was running a recording session right here in my studio, and I remember randomly I had everything set up properly. All my wires were set up, everything was properly set up, and I didn't touch anything on the unit. I know how to work a compressor. Routing audio is not difficult at all if you have the proper cables, and I troubleshooted all my cables. All my cables were perfectly fine and they still worked, but for whatever reason within that session, the Tubesessor just wasn't sending any signal out into my interface, which was weird at the moment. And then I had to bypass it and turn it off. And when I bypassed it and turned it off, then I received a signal from my preamp, but through the compressor bypassed into my interface. So I thought that that was weird. And I was fiddling around with the settings. And I remember when this happened a few months after I had originally purchased this unit, I had contacted Sweetwater, since I purchased this unit off of Sweetwater back then. And I had mentioned to them that the unit wasn't working, but I didn't follow through on the return or the repair because Sweetwater obviously gives you a 2-year warranty for any audio products you purchase through them. So the main reason why I didn't send it back to them or follow up with them for the repair on the Tubesessor was because the next day randomly I check it again and all of a sudden it's working. And yes, I do all the standard things like letting my preamp warm up and letting my compressor warm up before I run the session. And keep in mind, I was in the middle of the session where this unit was already warmed up and I was about 2-3 hours into my recording session, just randomly crapped out, but then the next day it wanted to work, and I didn't even touch anything to change anything. Nothing on my interface, nothing on my preamp, nothing on the Tubesessor. It just one day didn't work and then one day it did. It was very weird. I don't know what it was, but most likely it was a fluke. But since it was working back the next day and it didn't mess up on me again, I didn't see any real reason or need to send it back to Sweetwater to try to get it repaired. So that was like the first few months to a year that I had it. But then fast forward to August of this year and the unit crapped out on me again. So a little bit of details of what had happened. Again, I just go to record for a recording session, and as soon as I flip this compressor on, as you can hear and as you can see, it's just completely distorted and it lowers the volume completely. Now, I know that this possibly could be a simple fix. Maybe it's just a tube that's blown out, you get what I'm saying? Which I get that, and I know that it's not that hard to fix, but I just want to explain my experience with Sweetwater and the distribution company, so that way maybe you guys could avoid the headache that I had to face when dealing with this unit. So since the unit had messed up and when I turned it on, it was just super distorted and crunchy in my recording session, I tried to gain matching it like any normal person would do, because at first it wasn't really saturated. It just lowered the gain and I wasn't getting any compression. So I'm actually going to set up a second camera angle so you guys can see the compressor settings while I talk you through this. Alright, cool. So now that I have my second camera angle set up, as you guys can see, okay, so as you can see over here, I'm gonna put the gain to 0 and I have no threshold, so we're not getting any compression, right? I have a very fast release, low ratio, open attack, so we shouldn't be getting any compression. And when I flip the bypass on, and as you can see, we have our gain set to 0, it lowers the signal and it's very saturated. So I'm gonna turn it on again, but when I was recording that one time when I figured out that it was messed up in the middle of my recording session, I naturally just tried to gain up the signal. But then as you can see, if I gain it up to level match it, so now I'm gaining it to level match and you just get a really crunchy saturated signal. So this is without it and this is with it leveled matched, which obviously this is not something that you want. And you may be saying, oh, well, what if you have these tube saturation modes? And that's another thing about this compressor. These tube saturation modes are basically pointless, and to me they're more of like a gimmick, because when the compressor was working properly, I would try out the mild, the medium, and the hot, and they barely added any saturation. The fact that maybe, yes, again, a simple tube could just be blown out or whatever, but this is way more saturation than any of these modules could ever provide. So to me, this is pointless, and I was just getting saturation, so I had to run that session without any compression, which is annoying when you buy a unit this expensive, because you're expecting it to work, especially when you spend what you spend. So I'm pulling up my receipt here, and I spent $2,736 with 41 cents on this unit. So if you spend upwards to around $3,000 for a unit, you would expect it to work, which again is why I do not recommend this unit for the price that you pay. And to make things worse, after I purchased this unit, keep in mind, I did buy this unit when it was brand new, but if you look up this unit again on Sweetwater and you put the Heritage Audio Tubesessor, you could see that they dropped the price down to $1,999 or $2,000, which is $500 less than what I had originally paid for this unit. So they're already even lowering the price on it. So I spent more money than I needed to on this unit that barely even works. So after I found out that this compressor was not working the way that it was supposed to this August, naturally I reached out to Sweetwater because I have the 2-year warranty to try to get it fixed. But this is kind of a little loophole on Sweetwater's end. Maybe they were a little bit more transparent about it, but I just didn't pay attention. But if you have a 2-year warranty, you have to pay to send your unit back, which, okay, I guess that makes sense, but that's just kind of a little annoyance when you have to spend an additional $100 plus, $200 plus dollars just to ship it back, just to get it fixed when you already have the warranty on it. It should be covered by Sweetwater, but I mean, they're gonna handle the business however they want to handle their business. That's just their terms. But to top it off, when I reached out to Sweetwater, they told me that they do not repair this unit in-house, and that I had to get in contact with the distribution center and reach out to them to get this unit repaired. So what Sweetwater had told me was if I were to send this unit to them, they would just end up sending it to the distribution center where they make these units anyways, and that it would be much quicker for me to receive my unit back if I just contact the distribution center myself directly and send it to them again directly, which is what I ended up doing. So now that I'm not dealing with Sweetwater, I'm now speaking to the distribution center, and they told me to describe the issue, which again was just that the output knob wasn't working. So I just kept it simple as that. I still get good compression, you know, the compression is still working, attack and release is working, everything else is working, and I know that this is just a simple fix, just one little output knob. I could be completely transparent and say that I'm no gear expert, and I don't really know much about the internal components of the gear that makes it do what it does, but I know that if you just need to focus on this one little output knob, there's just a few little things that you need to troubleshoot really to figure out what's wrong with the unit. So when I contacted the distribution center telling them that the output knob was messed up, they just told me to send it, which okay, I ended up sending it, and I sent the unit with the power cable to them along with a note explaining what was wrong with the unit, which I just demonstrated for you guys a little bit earlier. So after I sent it again, luckily the repair was covered by the warranty, but the shipping was not covered by the warranty. So I'm gonna put a picture of the receipt right here of how much I sent to them, which is around like $160 something, which again is just kind of a headache, especially when you spend that much money on a unit that just dropped the price, and then you have to spend even more money on top of that. So whatever, aside from that, I sent the unit to them, I would say around like September 10, okay, and they got the unit within a week. But then after they got the unit within a week, it took them all of September, all of October for them to return the unit back to me. And this goes on the communication end on the distribution center side. I remember emailing them periodically. I would give it like a few days each time, just saying like, what's the status, you know, just trying to get a little update, because obviously I still want to run recording sessions. This is the only compressor that I have at the current moment, and not having this unit, if you're an audio professional, can mess up your work. Obviously a compressor, you do not need it, but it's very nice to have, especially if you're working with very dynamic vocals, or if you're cutting vocals. You guys already know this. But on their end, from the distribution center side, they didn't contact me at all. From September to October, I got no response from the distribution center as to the status of my unit until like maybe mid-October, late October. They just said, oh, your unit's on the bench, that's it. And then I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But then after I received that that message, then I just kept following up with them a little bit and still no response. They just completely went ghost. So that's just kind of what you're going to have to deal with if you purchase this unit and it messes up on you. You're just going to have the headache of communicating with people who do not communicate properly back. So I was still waiting and waiting for my unit to come back. So this is already like 2 months. My unit broke in August, the end of August, all of September, all of October. I didn't get it back maybe till like the last week of October, and they didn't even send me a message saying, oh, we're sending your unit back. One day I just look outside and I see a package with my name on it at my door, and I'm just like, okay, what is this? So I couldn't even really expect when it was coming, which for me, luckily, I live in a house where it's pretty safe neighborhood or whatever. No porch pirates, luckily, at least not that I'm aware of. But if you have this unit and the fact that they didn't communicate that they were sending it back, no tracking information, no nothing, this is a very expensive unit for them to just send it back to you without giving you any update as to when they're sending it back. So it could get stolen, it could get damaged, it could just be sent back or whatever, you know, the whole postal thing. So that's just another fault on their end. And then once I get the package, I open it up and I'm trying to set everything up. And keep in mind what I said I sent them the unit along with the power cable. And tell me why when I get this unit back, I didn't get it with the power cable. So now, since they didn't even send anything, they didn't even send not one message to me saying that they were going to send the unit back. They just sent it back, and I had to reach out to them again saying, hey, I got the unit, by the way, thanks, but you guys didn't send me the power cable with it, and I sent you guys the power cable. Again, it's just all little annoying things that just kind of left like a sour taste in my mouth, which is again why I do not recommend this unit, or at least dealing with a company. Again, it could be a very simple fix, and I'm well aware of that, or maybe it's a little bit more intricate, whatever. Again, I'm no hardware expert as far as the internal components go, but just the fact that they didn't send me it with a power cable just kind of irritated me a little bit more. But luckily, they sent me a power cable like overnight shipping, so I got the power cable the next day. And then when it was finally time to test out the unit again to see if it was work, to my surprise, it was still broken. And that really pissed me off, because it's just like a slap to the face where you spend so much money on a unit, you send it out with a very detailed note explaining what's wrong, which it's not that hard. I just basically said that the output knob was super saturated. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to. Yes, I still got gain reduction. Yes, I still got this, which I could show you guys a quick little example of it. But as you guys can hear, this is not what the unit is supposed to sound like, right? And again, look, I raised the gain by a bunch. So as you can see here, according to this unit, I raised the gain by 15 dB just to get a level match. This is without it, this is with it. So I guess like this is a pretty close level match to my ear. Again, no ratio, slow attack, fast release. So we're not even getting any reduction on the needle right here. So it's really just this output knob. And let's say it is a simple fix, you know what I'm saying, that I could probably do myself. Maybe if it's just a tube and I just swap out the tube or whatever. One, I haven't checked, so don't hold me to this, but I don't think there's any instructions on how to change the tubes. Or I think I did see somewhere online when I had first purchased the unit that like if a tube goes bad, I think you could replace the tube or something like that, which that could possibly be the case for this. But the fact that I had to go and send this unit, spend money to send this unit back, and for them to send it back still broken, just absolutely irritated the fuck out of me. I just don't know how else to say it. Now, I just want to show you what it sounds like with the compression on, so you guys can see that, like, yeah, everything else on this unit is fine. But just the fact that I had to deal with this whole experience, the whole Sweetwater thing, Sweetwater couldn't fix it, and then I still had to pay extra on top of that, the price dropped or whatever. I do not recommend this unit not one bit to anybody. I really would say just save your money. Again, it could be a really quick and easy fix, but just the fact that everybody who worked on this unit was kind of very unprofessional with it, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody out there that is looking at this unit to purchase this unit, because one, it could mess up on you, and two, if it does mess up on you, I don't really think they provide any instructions on how to fix it yourself if you wanted to go about fixing it yourself. And you send it back to the distribution center where they make these units, and they couldn't even fix it for you. So what's the whole point of the 2-year warranty? What's the whole point of dealing with this unit overall? So for that reason, I am refunding this unit. I do not recommend it. Save yourselves the headache. And what I'm going to recommend instead, and this isn't sponsored or anything like that, this is just something that I actually tried out and I actually enjoyed, and I thought that was way more solid of a unit than this one for way cheaper of the price, is the West Audio NG76. So I'm not going to go too much into details about that unit, but it's an 1176 styled compressor that has various different modes and all that kind of good stuff, digital recall, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's way cheaper than this, even when this dropped the price by $500. So the West Audio NG76 FET compressor, that goes for $13.99 with tax, probably add like an extra $200 or whatever, but that's still cheaper than this. And I've used that unit at a buddy's studio for countless sessions, and that's never faulted either, and he's had it for a long time as well. He got it from another friend too, whatever, blah blah blah. But that thing is super solid, and West Audio makes really good products. Let me just show you like a quick little audio example with the compression on. So I brought it back down to 0 with the super crunchy saturation. Again, this is with it off, and then this is with it on. It drops and saturates it. But now let's get a little bit of compression. So I'm gonna lower the attack, raise the release a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it to like, I would say this is like 4-1. I mean, that's another thing too. Little pet peeve things is like, I wish they had values in between that kind of explained 2-1, 4-1, 6-1, 8-1, 10-1, or things of that nature. That would be a nice little bonus too, because these things are kind of vague. But I mean, you gotta do a lot of guesswork with this thing. But I mean, it's not like a big game changer. But I'm just ranting at this point on things that they can improve if they're watching this video and they want to fix these problems, so that way they can actually provide something that people would actually enjoy and that I could actually feel proud in recommending. But that's that, and then I'm gonna turn this on. So saturated, let me just get a little bit of gain reduction now. Check, 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 check. So as you can see, the needle is moving and we're getting a decent amount of gain reduction. My voice is really low, so let me raise it up a lot. Check, 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 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check, check 1 2. So yeah, we're getting a lot of gain reduction. You're hearing me now through the compressor, but again, this is not what it's supposed to sound like. It's not supposed to be a saturation box. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted a saturation box, I would get a saturation box, but that is not what I purchased. I wanted something that was, I guess, tube tech style, tube tech like. But this also just goes to show you that sometimes the original real thing cannot be beaten. But with the given market of the tube tech, even that's inflated. You can't buy it retail, you got to buy a resale. The wait list is forever. So that's why I was just tired of waiting for a tube tech and tired of them being so completely overpriced that I was just willing to get anything, I guess. And I got this, and I'm just really disappointed with the quality of it. And you can hear my voice and how saturated it sounds. That is the sound of the unit. I mean, the compression is pretty responsive. As far as the overall sound, I'm gonna turn this off now. It just wasn't as transparent as a tube tech. You could look up demos online. This isn't like a full-on demo video. This is just more of me explaining my experience with the unit and the company as a whole, or the distribution center, whatever, blah blah blah. But when it was working, the sound wasn't as transparent as a tube tech. And again, being completely honest, so like if you were to still buy this unit and if the unit is working for you, things that you got to look out for is it adds sort of like a brighter character. I would say anywhere between like 1.5K to like 8K. It adds like saturation to those frequencies. Naturally, the unit does that itself. And then the compression isn't very transparent. If you guys have used the tube tech in other commercial studios, you may know that a tube tech, it's very hard to make that sound bad. This, you could actually make it sound bad if you don't know what you're doing. And if you're compressing too much, you're going to hear audible saturation, which isn't something that you would necessarily want if you were going for that transparent tube tech sort of styled compression. So that is my review on this Heritage Audio Tubesessor. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and what you guys think about this kind of style of video, you know, just raw, unscripted, unfiltered. And if you guys want to see something more of this, because I don't really do a lot of this on my channel, the majority of the stuff that I do is all educational. You guys already know this, but I'm just talking to you guys now specifically. Like, I'm not trying to be too calculated with this video. I just want to share my experience with you so you guys can see what I do and what I don't recommend. And as of right now, I can't say I recommend this unit. So again, let me know your thoughts down below, and I appreciate you guys for watching. And if Heritage Audio is watching, again, it's nothing personal, but there's little things that I've explained here that you could fix along your way. Anyways, that's it for me today. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and peace. If you guys have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below. Peace.